Well, firstly, I need to say I'm actually not a BP graduate because I haven't fulfilled the retreat commitment yet. It's not entirely my fault. I was booked to spend a month in Nepal this spring, which for obvious reasons couldn't happen. But actually, I've always been one of the slow, not very serious students, and I still have a Netflix account. I would say I was not only blind, but also reluctant. I got involved with the Dharma because I wanted to be a better person. I was interested in kindness and compassion. And my hunch was that I was going to achieve that through meditation. So I never planned to spend a lot of time listening to Dharma talks and reading books and studying the philosophical side. But His Holiness Dalai Lama and Lama Zopa Rinpoche both talked about the importance of study, and that it was only through study that we could make realization stick. You know, we get insights, but they come and go. But if we've really worked with the study, then there's a chance for them to totally transform our lives. And also realizing gradually and reluctantly how conditioned we are by our 21st century Western philosophy, which is very often invisible to us. And so we actually need a structure, and we need discipline to question our assumptions. So anyway, I was reluctantly thinking, all right, I'll do it. And also aware back in 2014 that it seemed a really rare opportunity that it might never come again. And so I'm absolutely thrilled that it has come again for all of you, or some of you, the people who choose to do it, especially with a teacher with Geshe Namdak's unique and extraordinary qualities, you know, his Western educational background and his instinctive, innate understanding of our psychology, but also the 20 years of intense study he's put in the monastery is an incredible combination. And 5 years sounds long. It certainly sounded long, but I do a lot of things for 5 years that aren't meaningful at all. You know, the years just slip by. So I can look back at that and say, actually, this is 5 of the most meaningful years of my life because of the basic program. And Geshe Namdak was talking about the incredible tradition of Tibetan Buddhism, and it's so vast, and this incredible opportunity we have at the moment to study it from people who are either directly studied in Tibet or a one degree of separation from that, and that's not going to last. So we have this moment in history where we can do this, and the way the BP is structured, and I'm going to repeat some things here, I think we'll all do it a little bit, is it gives you a framework for studying key topics and texts. It kind of takes you by the hand through that framework, and as Geshe Namdak says, from that you get an overview and it all begins to come alive. I was really surprised about how much I loved the revision period. I mean, and even the exam. I mean, again, as a really bad student, I wasn't planning to do the exam. I thought, oh, you know, I've got so many other things to do. And my husband, who's a university professor, said, well, of course you're going to do the exams. I was like, okay, I will. And we had this extraordinary 3 months where we were just all on it the whole time, you know, getting all these messages between ourselves and on our phones. And I decided to let it all come into my general inbox that kind of pushed everything else aside, and just this extraordinary excitement of intellectual inquiry. And I didn't even get that at university, really. And now I'm doing the retreat, I'm doing it in bits. I'm finding this is consolidating for me, really, really important to consolidate it. And again, you know, thinking, oh, I haven't got time to do the retreat. And like, yes, I will do the retreat, I will complete. So the BP is giving me the discipline to actually do it. And I'm finding that I'm continuing to study. It's given me confidence to tackle subjects, to really try and understand them. There's a lot of material online. I find Alex Berzon's Study Buddhism particularly helpful. And there's a sort of a confidence that although the topics in Tibetan Buddhism do seem to be infinite, actually it is possible to get to the bottom of things. You know, tenets can be understood, at least on a superficial level. It can be mastered. And I realized I had some complexes from university, that I wasn't bright enough and that I couldn't really understand certain things. And what you find with BP is that it's a great leveler. And you see that the people who do show up and who do read things and who do try and who also do, you know, prayers and things around it to create merit, the understanding begins to come, you know, and that was really interesting for me. And, you know, if I went to say a teaching by His Holiness during the 5 years, which I had the opportunity to do a few times, I actually had insights on a different level. You began to see that His Holiness is teaching on many levels, and that a lot of the references that he makes actually have some resonance for you. You know, you may not exactly be able to pinpoint them, but you can see It just goes deeper. The other thing that Francesca also mentioned is the kind of friendship and community that comes with it, because these teachings are so powerful and they are so transformative. We're swimming against the current. So it's really important, in my experience, to have people who are doing that with you and people to discuss things with. And, you know, a few of us have developed some really deep friendships through doing this. So just to wind up, I was actually on the FPMT board when Lama Zopa Rinpoche proposed this program. And I remember a few of us saying, Rinpoche, it isn't basic. You can't call it the basic program. And Lama Zopa Rinpoche is always very clear about things. And he was like, no, it is the basic program. And now I see it is basic. You know, we're really, it's an amazing opportunity to dip our toes in this great tradition that will, I hope, always be seen as one of the greatest philosophical traditions in the world, kept alive by the Tibetans over 1,000 years when you know, other parts of the world were losing the capacity to study, or for a decent proportion of the population to study in this depth. So I'd actually been involved with the Dharma for over 25 years when I started doing the basic program, but I would say that it feels like I didn't understand anything at all before. And it's completely changed my relationship to the Dharma, which means it's changed my life. And an analogy that keeps coming up for me is that, you know, if you're having a big meal, special meal, there might be a starter, there might be a main course, and there might be the dessert. And as Geshe-la mentioned earlier, very often some of us are dipping into different teachings. I mean, we're lucky to have access to them at all, but you know, we'll study a little bit of this subject and a little bit of that subject. And that's like the starters. And if a Lama comes and gives the incredible blessing of their presence and their teachings, maybe an initiation, that's like the dessert. But it feels to me like the BP is like the main course. And so just from a personal point of view, I can't recommend it enough from that basis. Thank you.